Hey, everybody, welcome to Friday. It can't come soon enough. Here we go. So, you know how some ideas don't fit like into a tidy little episode that we're going to do, but they just don't leave you alone. So, that's what today's all about. These are the tangents that spark something, a question, maybe a debate, maybe just a weird little thought that you couldn't shake. So they may be ideas that we talked about on the show. They also may not be ideas that we talked about on the show. We're bringing them back and presenting them unscripted, unfiltered, no agenda, no polish, just like we do. And we want to know what your ideas are too. What is hanging on, inspiring your imagination? Go ahead and pop it in the chat because we're really interested in your takes, your questions, and your rabbit holes. This is the Daily AI Show, episode 455. Live streaming and recording on June 27th, 2025. With me in the studio today is Brian Masseri. I am Beth Lyons. And shout out to everyone in the live stream chat. Yes, we have Jude, we have Justin, we have Jeff. So those are our medal winners today. We also have Greg and Jeffrey Najjar. So 2 Jeffs. If you're a Jeff, this is your day. Come and play with us. Also come and play with us if your name is something other than Jeff. So Brian, you said you had something that you wanted to share. So let's get to it.
Yeah, I do. I have a few things, Beth. One minor correction, and I'm only bringing this up because it wouldn't matter otherwise. Who cares what the episode number is? But you said it's episode 455. It's 495, and the reason
495, yes.
I just want to say that I would not care. That's a minor correction, but I'm only mentioning it because next Friday is our 500th show. Beth, you and I have been here for most of those. You probably taken off less time than I think I have over the course of it. I always finally remember, I think it was 2 Christmases ago, where basically like this, you and Andy held down the fort for several days. I had intended to be, there, and I foolishly thought I'd be able to use the Gaylord Palms internet connection, and that failed almost immediately, and I couldn't join or whatever. So that we'll get into that a lot more next week on our 500 show. But I just did want to just make a quick correction because that's a milestone. I mean, we've had quite a few on this show, but to think we've turned on the cameras, we've turned on the lights, and we said go live 500 times, or almost 500, 495 times as of right this second. Not to mention our other shows, right? Like you and Jimmy and Andy and all, but you and Jimmy spearheaded the Sci-Fi AI show, which just quick note on that. There's not one today because Jimmy's out. So there's going to be a break on the Sci-Fi AI show, but you guys have been doing those. Carl and you and all that have been doing the vibe coding, which I think there is an episode today, correct?
Yeah, there is, and it will be a half an hour later. So it'll be at Eastern time, it'll be at 12:30.
12:30 Eastern today. If you want to
Right.
come back and hang out with Carl, Beth, you're going to be there?
Yeah.
Yeah, Beth will be there to do some vibe coding as part of an ongoing series, but it's not something where you have to have been in the beginning in order to join today. If you want to hang out with that'll be going on. So 500 of the daily AI shows, but also more than that. I don't know what the total number is. If you added in everything else, I don't think I'd really count because they're not live, but the Conundrum shows. But
Right.
good reminder that the Conundrum episodes go out on Saturday mornings. I have tomorrow's all ready to go and queued up, so it'll be going out the door. Tomorrow, I believe the one is about triage, and that's going to be an interesting topic. I'll leave it for the Conundrum show, but what that is, Beth, is about. Oh, this is good. Okay, we don't have to talk about it on this show because I'll leave it to that. Just to throw it out there. The reason why I think you guys should check this out is it's the idea that it's the haves and have-nots, or one of the working titles was life or data instead of life or death. And the idea that those who have probably have the means, who are maybe not wealthy but middle class, right, are going to have longer strings of health data over time.
Right.
And those who do not, who are less fortunate, are going to have less. And the conundrum is talking about when we get to a point that AI is so good that it's literally saving lives because of historical data. That's a good thing, but doesn't it just reinforce, or could it potentially reinforce bigger problems down the road? If essentially what it means is those with the haves once again get saved and those with the have-nots get left out. And
Right.
so where is the conundrum is, where do you put your time? Where do you put your energy? Do you save lives today? Do you pull back and make sure there's more equity in there? Tricky things, and that's what I love about the conundrum episode. So go check that out. It's not us doing it live. I do an intro, a pre-recorded intro, and then it's off to the races with our two AI co-hosts that you'll hear on there. And I always explain at the top of the shows how we create those. So that'll be coming out tomorrow at it'll drop, Beth. That sounds very cool. It'll drop.
Dropping tomorrow.
I know. I need to do Jimmy. You and Jimmy do a better radio announcer voice. But yes, dropping tomorrow at I think it's 10 a.m. Eastern is when I do those. I get it confused because the newsletter, which goes out on Sundays, goes out at 8 a.m. Okay,
So,
all of that is not what I was going to talk about. And
well,
Carl joined us.
I'm gonna welcome Carl, and I'm actually just gonna say yes. Today's episode is 495. Thanks for correcting me. In my brain, I thought 5 more on top of 455 got us to 500. So happy
It's
Friday
Friday.
morning to you. Let's
Yeah,
do.
it's a Friday. Hey, Carl, welcome to it. We haven't really got go. We're just been kind of like doing minor things. We haven't really got you into
Tangents. We've been
tangents.
doing
Yeah, that's what
tangents.
today's show's about, right? It's fun. It's just open-ended tangents. One of the I have a couple topics, but one of the ones I wanted to bring up, and kind of perfect timing. See, I knew Carl was going to pop in, so I knew this would be good timing because it's kind of about SEO. And so the news story here is as AI. This is from TechCrunch. As AI kills search traffic, Google launches Offerwall. That's all one word to boost publisher revenue. So it was really interesting because I saw that in a newsletter first and then kicked over to this TechCrunch article. I guess they've been testing this and trialing this now for a year in a trial mode with over 1,000 publishers. And the idea is that they can potentially increase their profit through things like micropayments, taking surveys, watching ads, and more. It's interesting because I was like, "Oh," because they immediately said, Google knows they're kind of killing some of their own ad revenue through their clients through things like AI overview and also AI mode. And just for anybody playing along here, okay, when you go to Google, you have to turn some of these things on from experimental, but when you go to Google now, you may not, but you may see an AI overview answer. In fact, I'm seeing them more and more and more. And I was in the experimental like preview stuff probably 6, 7 months ago, and it was really intermittent. You can now also on Google switch over to AI mode. And I was just talking to my wife about this. And the difference is AI overview basically stops you from having to go to a website. It may just give you the answer. It's going to give you some cited sources and you're away you go. But there's no way to kind of ask the follow-up question like you might in a perplexity. AI mode is more the Gemini, the perplexity, if you will. You ask a question and then you could immediately follow up with, well, what does that mean without ever redefining what that is because now it's got memory, right? In that context of AI mode. Also, Google has put out like the audio overviews. Now they've taken the like success of Google Notebook LM and they pulled that directly into some of your Google searches. So now we have all these different AI things happening with Google, and Google's clearly saying, hey, publishers, we know we've sort of taken some traffic away from people landing on your blog. What I find interesting about this, Offerwall, is you still have to go to the page. So they give an example as like the daily news. And what they're saying is on the daily news, let's say a Wall Street Journal or something like that, you might get a pop up that says, hey, do you want access for 24 hours for $1? And that would be a micropayment. Hey, do you want to watch an ad and then get the rest of this article for free? That would be one part of it. And what was the third one? Taking surveys, which might be valuable to that Wall Street Journal or whatever it is. Interestingly, and what I'm curious to see what you guys think about this is TechCrunch says the micropayments is actually stalled several times. And although they're using this other side company called SuperTab, it hasn't really worked super well. But all of this to say, like, how is this actually it's not a solve, it's just another feature for publishers because if AI overview, as I described it in AI mode, essentially stops me from ever having to click on the blog to begin with, isn't that the problem we need to be isn't what that would more of what Google should be focusing on instead of like Offerwall, which is like, hey, if they do go to your blog, here's another way outside of ads that you might be able to get $1 for access. And I think, Beth, didn't you say is it the independent? What was the news publication the other day that you mentioned in our Slack channel? Was it the Independent?
No, it's the information.
The
Um,
information.
and they're like super dialed in. They often break, like they have really great sources within the companies who are going to be announcing things. They often
Mhm.
break that before the company announces.
So there'd be a good example of Beth. I mean, we were just citing this the other day. Like, would we choose to use a dollar or two from our coffer, our daily iShow coffer for what we make with ads and stuff like that, our little bank account, and then say like, oh, well, that's really helpful for a show. Sure, $2 I could access for 48 hours. That's all I really need. And I need this show, and this would be helpful. Is $2 worth it to me? Well, we play this game all the time with tokens and what's worth it and not worth it with LLMs and stuff and API calls. So like that makes sense. But let me just throw this to you guys. Like, what do you think about this idea? Is this just a patch? Is it a band-aid? It doesn't seem like it's really fixing the core problem is my point.
Right. Well, they um they d- they they fired their search team, right? They reduced is the R word that I'm looking for. They reduced their search team recently. And I do think that Google to a certain extent is like throw it at the well and let's just see, right? Um yeah, I think it's I think we're in that funky period where SEO is not a great investment from the or is having diminishing returns from the people investing in trying to SEO their content. But it is still probably a reasonable investment from the people providing SEO advice in this time, or SEO strategies, or SEO actual tools, right? So do you like do you meet the need of the people asking questions now and try to give them something that satisfies them, or do you help prep people for what's coming down the line? And of course, at the Daily AI Show, we think that answer is yes. Yes, you do both of those things. Carl, what are you thinking?
Um,
Just asking you about SEO.
uh, no, not in a roundabout way. Sometimes they do, because I think like it comes up in the conversation. Hey, with AI, this like, should I still invest in, you know, invest in SEO? And I try to, for us, I try to kind of stay in our lane where it's like there's a lot of opinions on it. Um, I because I don't know what you're specifically doing, we got to dive deep. But if you want to do that, I would probably look at more of like a marketing agency. Here's my thoughts on it. But I think like
That's nice.
so there's two things. I think the first part is you've got a whole bunch of, and this is very controversial with a lot of marketers, B2B marketers and so on, right? So you got one end that says, hey, and they've got data to back it up that like people aren't necessarily just leaving Google. Google still has big market share, and they always point to the fact that, oh, it's still growing. I'm like, okay. And then you're like, well, but the counter that you can start seeing more and more and more and more and more people using, whatever your favorite large language model to find answers and so on. So like if this was a business, would I say it depends on what your business is. It takes time to rank. But my argument was, well, you know what? A better, I think to me, what sums it up a little bit better is, can I play like a 1.5 minute video clip? The person who says it really well is the Cloudflare CEO.
Hmm.
And yeah, so he was talking about, I thought that was, because I think this is a great launching off point for our discussion. Perfect.
On search engines and AI summaries are killing the internet's business model. Joe and I were actually talking about this earlier. Matthew Prince is here. He's the co-founder and CEO of Cloudflare. Good morning to you. It's long been described as the blue link economy, as in you go onto Google, you put the search in, you get all the blue links, you click on one, and Google often makes money if you hit one of the sponsored ones. You think that that whole economy is effectively going to be going under here?
Yeah, Andrew, I think that the economy is for sure changing.
the way the best data that we have on this is if you look back 10 years ago, essentially for every 2 pages that Google would crawl, they would send CNBC, anyone who's creating content, 1 visitor for that. The rate that Google crawls at hasn't changed. And yet 6 months ago, the rate was now up to 6 pages scraped for every 1 visitor. And it's accelerated that now it's actually 15 scrapes for every 1 visitor. And what's changing is not that fewer people are searching the internet, stuff that Google is scraping more. It's that more and more of the answers to Google are being answered right on Google's page. That AI box at the top of Google is now absorbing that content that would have gone to the original content creators. And that's the good news for content creators. If you look at OpenAI 6 months ago, it was 250 scrapes to 1 visitor. If you look at it today, it's almost 1,500 scrapes to 1 visitor. And what that means is that if you're making money through subscriptions, through advertising, any of the things that content creators are doing today, visitors aren't going to be seeing those ads. They're not going to be buying those subscriptions anymore. And that means it's going to be much, much harder for you to be a content creator.
All right. So I think, so for those who don't know, Cloudflare is kind of the, it's like they have access to like quite a lot of data because I think they act like a middle person between websites. So they have like big access to all the sites what people were like that they work with. And what he said was like, it's crazy, right? So like you get from 2 to 1 to 6 to 1 to 15 to 1 with Google. But then with OpenAI, where most people are at, it was 251. Now it's, I forgot what he said, it was like 1,500 to 1. And he didn't mention, he said with Anthropic, it was 6,000 to 1. So it's always interesting to me. This is a big thing with a lot of people were saying AEO, GEO, L, whatever the acronym is. But it doesn't matter because even if you rank the golden age of Google where people click on that link, how many times have you clicked on a source from ChatGPT? It's significantly much less when you're going into a search engine. You know a video that everyone needs to watch. So Christopher Penn did a video on this. I'm so surprised. It's like the views on it is very low. He describes 3 big things. One is you have to understand what the model already knows about you. So base model, not search enabled, right? So just what does the latest trained model of whichever, Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, what does it know about you first? Then 2, what about search enabled? So what does AI overviews or AI mode look like? And he says like that is probably the same, like you still do the same SEO techniques to get on AI overviews because what is it pulling? It's pulling from its search rankings. Makes sense. But then you also have the third one, which is third party, which is ChatGPT, Claude. Like, how are they finding search and what do they do? And his big thing is anyone who says that they know or have the data of what people are prompting, it's impossible because no LLM company would provide that.
Right.
Because that's gold. That tells people what people are doing. So it's impossible. So I think like if you look at AEO, it doesn't make any sense to me. And then 2, everyone here, we've all used deep research. They don't care if it's top 1, top 2. They'll search 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, 500 sources to get you the answer. So that's like a little bit of, well, my agents are probably going to search better than me. Do we have to think about how do you fit your content and your business to be found not just by the people, but also by agents too? I think that's like a big miss because I think people are still short-sighted in thinking people are still going to use large language models exactly the way they use Google. And Chris Penn said a great job. It's like, no, people use this in a completely different way. You have full conversations with it, not tell me the best, I don't know, sales agency in Birmingham, Alabama. No one's going to, it's through a conversation. It's like, hey, I'm doing this. What do you think of this? Oh yeah, can you tell me about this? I'm doing that. Like, it's super, super specific and contextual to you. I don't know. Like, I'd love to know what you two think about this. I'm thinking about that quite a bit.
Well, it's so when you were searching for something that you were looking for the best of, I'm remembering like several years ago now in AI time, you talking to us about searching for whatever the gorilla clips are that you put on your sneakers when you want to run in Alberta in the deep winter, and all of us were like,
Yeah, yak tracks.
"Yeah, we have no
I love it.
we looks at those all the time." But
That's a good business idea. That's a good name, actually. It's not bad. Yeah.
but But, like, that we were asking about these SEO things then, right? Because you were searching in Perplexity during the short-lived Perplexity, push for that you could buy it on Perplexity, and why would you what it was showing you, and why would you go further than that? And I feel like we've just gone deeper and deeper in to adding layers on top of, what the why it's the best, what the search is pulling for you.
Mhm.
Brian, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, sorry, this guy with the I have thought at the lawnmower outside my window, who's not even a lawnmower at this point. Let's just point out that he's on a giant fan. He's riding a giant fan. And you'd think, you know what, to make that work, you should probably move around and blow the strip clippings and stuff. No, he feels that the best move is to stand in one spot with somehow getting the tone of the engine pointed directly at my window and this mic. That's the way I feel about that. So we were talking about SEO. I'm sorry. As you were saying that, Carl, about like what does the model know about you? Um, what I was going to say is interesting. While you were talking about that, I went into a temporary chat on ChatGPT and I said, "Not using the internet. What do you know about this?" So I put in my name. It's like I don't know who that is.
Mhm.
That's understandable. I'm not in the training data. That's probably a good thing. I consider that a kind of a win, actually.
Yeah.
Um, then I said, "What about the Daily AI show?" Because I don't know anything about this Daily AI show. Then I asked it about Scale Consulting. Now, Scale Consulting's been around 11 years,
Mhm.
and it says, based on my training data up to mid 2024, I do not have any notable information on Scale Consulting. It does not appear in the public sources I was trained on, which suggests it might be specialized, a niche firm, or whatever. So anyway, just to bring up the point of like, okay, Daily AI show, we've been around almost 2 years.
Mhm.
My name, if you search it, honestly, comes up with just as much CrossFit stuff from 15 years ago because CrossFit bumped it up and it got good SEO bump. And my name came up as a gym owner more than anything else, right? And so I still have that stuff on there or whatever. But it just goes to show you that, like, we maybe there's this concept of like, oh, the training data are trillions upon trillions upon trillions of parameters. But just like knowing somebody who might be quote unquote famous in your world, but the minute you go outside of your bubble, and Ethan Malik, we love him. We think he's really, really impressive. He's important to what we're doing on this show and his academic takes on it. But I don't have to leave my house for me to go to somebody and go, "Hey, you know who was just saying that? Ethan Malik," and be like, "The who and the what?" So I think it's just a good point though that like we think of these models they're trained on billions or trillions of parameters. That still leaves a lot out.
Mhm.
And so what we probably think of these days as what an LLM is trained on, let's be honest, a lot of that is the internet. A
Yeah.
lot of it is pulling from the internet because we don't have to go too far back in time to remember when we were either having to use oh geez, what were they called in ChatGPT? Not the miniature apps. What do they call them?
Plugins?
Plugins, thank you. It wasn't that long ago that we were using plugins. It's been so long I've forgotten. And having to say, "Hey, go use this plugin to go look at the internet," and now it's all just sort of together. And whatever GPT-5 is going to be, or the next Gemini, or the next Claude, or whatever, will even feel even more seamless than that. So it's getting really hard to distinguish, like, where does one training end and where does something else begin? And I think that only is going to become more complicated, which is all to say back to the SEO. And I mean, I'm sure, Beth, we can move on to other topics, but how, even if you were to attempt to try to break that code or, figure that out or figure out what AI looks like in the world of SEO, I think maybe there's some agencies out there who feel like they've really got a handle on it. But I would think if you're investing any money in those areas, it's got to be really tough because there's got to be a lot of people going, all we can do is try. With enough money and an ad budget, we can try, we can test, which is all really their Offerwall was. Google was saying that there was anywhere from a 5 to 15% bump for publications using Offerwall, which is great. I mean, that's better than nothing for sure. But yeah, anyway, just I know there's other topics to get to, but like just really, really interesting. And that happened to come out yesterday. And so it was one of those kind of squirrel things where I was like, Offerwall, what does that do? And then that kind of took me down the rabbit hole of like, well, how does that help? And it does, but like, there's a bigger issue there, I think,
That's cool. So one of the things that I brought is just quick. It is it's not a rumor because Elon actually posted it, but it's a rumor because Elon actually posted it. They're saying that Grok 4 could be out after July 4th. And we know that GPT-5 is potentially out this summer, right? We're in this summer, and God knows they don't keep themselves to like the proper definitions of time in any way, right? So we don't really
Isn't
know.
summer all the way till September?
Yes.
Like, isn't the definition of summer like at the end of September?
Yeah, summer technically started, not
Yeah.
here in Tampa, but by the tower.
It's June 20 to September 20, right? Or 21, or something like that.
We're gonna get it in between there, according to Sam Mullin.
Or we're gonna get it the day after Grok drops.
Exactly.
Right?
I was gonna say that's the date. What is the date of that GPT-5? Right after whenever the last other big thing is to suck away the air out of that announcement or whatever. Which I mean, I'm not mad at them. They all kind of do that. So I think they all sit on some releases and they're like, hold. It's like Braveheart. Hold. It's like hit the button now, unleash hell. That kind of thing. So yeah.
Must be hell for their like marketing comms people, right? Because they have to like organize all the sit downs and like the video of the people, whoever is going through the demo and all that kind of stuff or whatever. I still believe they're like just from doing those events in the past life, it's very hard to put that together very quickly, like that kind of stuff, like then the blog posts, the blog posts have to be probably are pre-done, the videos, like the questions on the API, telling their team, which I would imagine because they have like the CMO there. Oh, which is terrible. With their CMO had like a personal health matter, she said, and like replaced. But like I just remember the coordination of that is like a pain to organize that and switch and stuff. It's
Not only that, but like with OpenAI, we know that they give certain people like Ethan Malik early access.
yeah,
You got to coordinate that, and you got to code. And I mean, obviously, they all have NDAs, and they would be dumb as hell to try to leak that early because they'll immediately be on the outside looking in, and they know it.
100%. You don't know. Yeah.
You could tell because like usually it'll be released, and Ethan Malik will have a post that says, "I've been working with this for about 2 weeks."
Yeah.
So it's not a huge lead up, but it's usually like 2 weeks or something like that. I actually love that they do that. I mean, everybody wants to be on the inside. I mean, who am I to say I wouldn't want to be in that exclusive group that they trusted or whatever? But I do like when there's a release that more than likely I can go to some trusted names and go, well, that's an interesting release. I wonder how somebody's using that out in the wild. And then there's like immediate feedback for that I can be like, oh, okay, that's not what I thought they were releasing. Ethan's now showing us like he did it this way or somebody else did it that way. I find that like who's the guy on TikTok too that we've been talking about a lot this week, Nate Jones. Same thing. Like I don't know if he's on that inner circle, but same thing. I like to hear how their brains are thinking about
Yeah.
these topics,
Well, I think like for them, Okay, so imagine one of us, right? We get early access every 2 weeks. Like, what's nice about Ethan is he actually puts a content piece explaining it. Like, it's a
Yeah.
pretty comprehensive piece. So, wouldn't you think the agreement would be, hey, in to get early access, we want you to create content out of it, right? Like, some of us would be like, I don't have time. Like, like I'll test it. Okay, so that's fun. Like, there's so many AI tools right now. I could imagine it'd be right. Like for something big as GPT-5, like I would imagine you test it more. But like, there's so many tools out there. Like, I still want to test Higgsfield's soul thing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, oh, let's test that. And oh, by the way, did you know that in GenSpark you could unlimited VO3 for
Oh
20.
wow.
Yeah, so if you are on, you get unlimited VO3. So I was like, oh, I did not know that you could go in there and just. Now it's like one at a time, which is fine versus flow, which is nice for kind of like the 4 or
Yeah.
2. But yeah, it's just nice. You just keep pumping it out, and I was like, okay, well, GenSpark has the cash, I guess, or they need the users to. I guess they'll pay for that.
It's probably a good loss leader for them, to get in there and do it. Swerve on that. What I don't like in Flow is that I can't option VO3 without sound, which I want. You could do
Oh,
low
interesting.
quality, you could do high
Yeah,
quality
yeah, yeah,
VO3, but it insists on the sound. And so anyway, I use that as sort of the background, slow moving graphics that I typically do for the Conundrum episode. So I'm
yeah.
always trying to it's hard, man, because like you say, I don't want it to pan and I don't want it to zoom because what I ideally would love is that VO3 or Flow would make me a continuous loop. And
Yes.
in this case, the triage episode that's coming out tomorrow, it's a side by side of the haves and the have nots of two different types of ER rooms, which is great. The best case scenario is it gives me an 8-second video where people kind of move and they turn, but they always come back for the loop, right? Because that done, dusted. Editing is super easy. It never works like that. And now what I've noticed too is like, oh, VO3 is great. Don't get me wrong. It gives me a want, but it also always puts audio on it. And I just strip the audio out. It's fine. But I just also think like, oh man, I didn't even need to pay for that processing. I didn't even want it. So like it'd be cool to just have a filter that said no audio. Like, hey, Flo, I need you to do less than what you're offering me, whatever. And I don't know. I just find that odd that it's like it is better, but also give me the option.
Their their editor is very terrible. Like, it's
I haven't
kind
really
of
used
the
it
worst.
either.
Well, if you've ever used like let's say a CapCut or something,
Yeah.
like very well, it's like here's like extend, but then you have to switch and you have to keep going back and forth, and there isn't a very smooth way to actually like edit your video. So I feel like someone who isn't an editor or hasn't done very many video editing kinda came up with that solution, copying an editor like, it feels that way, and it's like, it's super, super clunky, and you're like, "This makes no sense. How would you edit? Like, no one edits like this." And yeah, it's kinda funny, so it's like, it's frustrating to edit that because that's a good way for you to take clips, put it together, and then
Yeah.
give, you know, um, I think a lot of people who use if you've seen some of the historical vlogs, that's what they do, but it's super, 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 like, weird to edit that, but
It's
another
it does
thing.
feel time consuming. I haven't done it, but like
Yeah,
it used to. There's
it is it is time it's
whatever.
very.
You're like, I mean, I love God bless them. I hope they get a lot of the Sasquatch ones are hilarious. The Star Wars ones are hilarious. All they're worth all. But
Yeah.
like I look at those two and I go, I don't think I think that's a multi-hour process for sure. It's got to be a labor of love because it between the regenerations to try to get it to do what you want because it might not be right, and then that editing part, like you're saying, Carl, it feels like yeah, you better be doing that because you love it or because it's making you a lot of money on TikTok or something. Because it's a task for sure.
Have you all seen, I'm sure you've seen this, it played around, the NBA Finals, video that was done by Kalshi? Um, the editor there spent 2 grand in token costs,
Right.
and then obviously the NBA bought it, but he said it was 95% cheaper than what would have cost.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it's gotta
Uh,
be.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to play it, but like, okay, so but the thing is though,
Tell me
NBA,
what it is again, or tell me while you're talking.
you just go to NBA commercial AI.
Got it.
And it gets you thinking because it's like, oh, automatically you're like, wait a minute. If the NBA finals will take that, I can only imagine a Super Bowl ad. I don't know how much that would have cost. That would have cost a lot of money to make a Super Bowl ad. But like, if this guy can do it for $2,000 plus agency fees, what's stopping anyone else from making? Now, granted, if you look at the comments, it's a lot of artists just they hate it. Like and creatives just for like, lots of legitimate reasons hate AI image and video. That's been established since forever. But I don't know, like if a small business or medium-sized business no longer needs to hire a videographer or like a designer, on one side, I think there is something about the joy of creating something that's like really intrinsically exciting that I think more people should have the ability to do so. But I can also understand you spend a lot of money, time, and your livelihood is on that creative part. And we've rehashed this. We don't have to go down this path. But like, yeah, it's a threat to them. But every single iteration, VO3, Higgs field, it's just getting better and better and better. And I was like, it's super fun. And I know people are like, oh, that's stolen art, or like that's not creative, it's boring. I'm like, for maybe creatives, but like for regular people, it's like that's kind of funny. I enjoyed that. Like the whole holy vlogs, like that's hilarious. Like that's a funny, neat way to do it. Same with historical vlogs. Like no one thought about that until you could do it really easily here. And sure, John Oliver did his thing on AI slop, and we're gonna get a lot of AI slop, no questions. But it's like, but this is what are we gonna do? How are you gonna stop this?
Well,
It'll only
it's a
for people to stop desiring to see it.
Exactly.
part of what's challenging in this, I think, is that it's an entirely different skill set to be able to direct your AI in generating the behavior that you want versus setting up the shot, right? Like setting up
Mhm.
the shot, casting the actors, directing your actors. What by the time that you have gotten to the place where you're directing your actors, it's almost all the way done for a human process, right? For the AI process, you haven't like you're not there yet, right? And now you're just tweaking as though like in the human equivalent, you would say that and then you would say, "Okay, I'm gonna change one word. Now tell me what you're gonna do with that," right? I mean, it's so it's almost mind numbing if you really enjoyed the creating with the human part.
Mhm.
And yes, this used to be a gate kept thing. So the people that are sort of moving to the top have some sense of what those words are, but really enjoy the ability to meticulously or throw things at the wall and do a crapshoot and see what you get, right? Like that process is different. The people who like both ends of that process are different people.
Well, I think like the hardest thing for any AI generated video is consistency. No matter like it's super hard to be consistent, especially like one of the key things to any kind of film or any kind of like consistent short film video, whatever, is hey, can you take a wide shot of the same hero, then an extreme close up, then a Dutch angle, then with different lighting, but everyone knows it's the same person.
Yeah.
With AI, you can't do that. Like I've had,
1985 problem, not a 2026 problem.
yeah. I, I'm curious when that is solved, and I'm sure it's getting closer and closer and closer. That is when you'll have the amazing. Now there's a whole bunch of workarounds, but I've never seen actually any amazing commercial that had the exact same hero or heroine or whoever is the exact like protagonist, antagonist, the same throughout. It's always like a weird version of that,
Yeah.
right? It just it hasn't been solved yet.
I mean, look, we've seen, if you look at the sort of what's supposed to be the pinnacle, I feel like it's moving away a little bit, but just take the Super Bowl ads because those are the ones historically that cost millions of dollars for 30 seconds. Every year they come out and say now what it costs to have a 30-second placed ad. And what did you see in some of those over the years? Like Doritos would come out and it would be all crowdsourced. Then somebody would come up with the best idea and then they'd be like, we'll make that video. And they were always super weird and whatever. And people are trying to stand out. And so, Carl, I think like businesses could easily lean in and be if the audience is in on the joke that the main character of the 30-second commercial keeps changing and maybe there's a hat that's different or there's a tie that's different or whatever. Like as long as the viewer is in on that joke of like we've cracked how to use AI, everybody can laugh along with it and go, "Oh my God, that's genius. They used an imperfect medium and brought everybody in on the joke, and now it's like it's totally fine that it doesn't work." So it's like all these super creative people out there that are gonna come up with these really amazing ways
Yeah.
to use AI in its current format and where people aren't gonna care. And to me, I think it's just the people who are making art and feel like this is a shortcut and it's creating the AI slop, and I hear those people too. I do. I tend to feel like, oh, this is allowing this to be an art form that's no longer as gate kept. No different than when I had my friend Angela on well, we had her recording on the show and we were talking about photography and stuff like that. And like, you know, Kodak also thought people would really still want to use film because it's superior. I am sure a lot of people before it became cool again felt that, there's no way people would stop buying albums because it's a superior sound to CDs. There's loss of quality on that, and then down to MP3s. And then there was people like Neil Young that were like, but people will want to hear the crispest version of the sound. And people are like, I just want to be able to download it on my iPod super quick. It's more important to me to have 1,000 quick songs than it is for it to be super high audio. So my point is there'll always be people who want the best. They'll want the best, the most extreme or whatever. But I do think it does come down to who's your audience and do they actually care that this is the best, that it's 4K, that it's whatever.
Yeah.
I think it only really matters with AI when it's trying to be passed off as clearly not AI. When
Well,
somebody tries to say like, here's our commercial and
yeah.
real low key, they're really hoping you don't realize it's AI and then it comes out that it is.
Yeah.
That seems to upset people because it feels like a bait and switch. So why not just lean into it?
Well, you touched on a really good point because it's interesting if you're ever in a filmmaker community or that type of community of freelance, the amount the people nitpick on, like, or get concerned about, it's like, oh, the writing's not off, it's grainy film, the lighting or whatever. The ISO's a little off, something's a little off. And when you watch it as a filmmaker, yeah, it's a little off. But then you watch it as a person who's just watching it, they cannot tell. Like, unless it's so glaring, but they can't tell. And I was like, why are you always picking about this? And this is what I'm finding is when people create AI content, right? A lot of people say that's awesome, that's hilarious. The only people that get really, really agitated about it are the creatives. That's all they're like, they point out all the flaws.
Sure.
But then I'm like, but the regular people, they're like, "Nah, that's hilarious, that's fun, I
Yeah.
wanna do that." So, it's like, y yes, it is flawed, but you're talking about it from your community and your point of view. For the rest of the people, the audience this video is going towards, it's not going towards filmmakers. It's going towards just general people, and general people who like to gamble will watch that video and be like, "Yeah, that's awesome. That's it. That's awesome."
Right.
That's
Yeah.
so
And general people aren't watching the video. I mean, what you're talking about is it is like how you're watching the video,
yeah.
right? So the commercial in the NBA finals, NBA playoffs was like viewed by people who were in their kitchen getting another beer, right? Like sort of, or like talking and then like glancing back. Those kinds of things are not things you pick up in a scenario, which is how these kind of commercial videos are typically being viewed, right?
Which has
Yeah.
got to make for some really interesting conversations at places like the NBA, Pepsi, or whatever. Because think about it, in their big companies, marketing, all
Mhm.
that, they have people who have gone to school who take things very seriously about the crap, as they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't. And then you have people who go in, yeah, but isn't this $2,000 commercial good enough for what we're trying to accomplish this? And man, that has got to be demoralizing because it's got to feel like shit for people who are really, really good at their craft. But also, are we mad at NBA? Are we mad at Pepsi? Are we mad at Coca-Cola? I'll use Coca-Cola because they had an AI video around Christmas that people were like, and it was AI. So what? They said it was. But like, if it accomplishes the goal, if it makes the audience feel a certain way, if it hits them in the feels, as they would say, if it makes them feel, warm and fuzzy about the Coca-Cola Bears, and that makes them think about Coca-Cola, and that, connects it to Christmas. If that's the goal and it costs the company $2,000 and it could be created in 2 weeks,
Every single company. That's what I mean.
you
It's like
know,
you're not looking at it from like the business angle and then the audience that they're
yeah,
trying to reach, right? They're not trying to reach like a den of like hyper focused filmmaking like aficionados. That's how it look. They're looking for what Beth said. The dude who's about to go for a beer wanted it's like, oh, that's awesome. And then they're not looking at the hands or like it doesn't look real or slop. They don't give a crap about that. They're like, oh, that's funny. And then it's like, oh, calcium.
yeah.
That's the brand association. So as a business, you're like, you that's why when you see that and you're like, wait a second, if that costs let's say it cost $20,000, 18,000 went to the agency and 2,000 to the token cost. Let's just say that. That's significantly less than paying 200, 250, $500,000 to create whatever commercial,
Yeah.
whatever it is. So as a business, I'm like,
But the
And even if it was only used for storyboarding, it would save probably millions of dollars, right? Even if they didn't decide to make the final product AI, surely all these marketing ads and agencies are using AI to quickly visually storyboard something that you could send up the chain and go, in basic terms, this is the commercial. And then
what
the
is
executives who are saying, go ahead, Beth, sorry.
no, it's I'm gonna ask you a question. What is it Andor that is on a screen stage essentially? Something that is
You know,
filmed
this is a question. I'm sure they use the volume. I think that's what
or
you're referring to. Jimmy, I believe, said a lot of Andor was filmed in real places because I remember him
right.
mentioning on the show. I'm not the best at, but you're right. The volume is, I think it's cool as hell. But it's like the Mandalorian is a good example of volume.
That's what I'm
It's
thinking.
270 degrees, super, super tall, high def LCD, LED screens with a roof to it. And the whole point to that is that the actors don't have to act against green screen. That if there's a big woolly mammoth in the the distance, Mandalorian is not only looking there, but like the sun's setting reflection is correct on the helmet
Mhm.
because it was correct at the time, and they also use parallax like they do in the games. So wherever the camera is shooting, it's the right. I still get confused on that, but parallax, I know is what it's called, and it just makes sure that the field of depth is correct as it's moving. So it's super bizarre looking when you look at it from outside the volume because things are out of focus and in focus and whatever. But yeah, I mean that's a great example of basically eliminating the retouching for lighting because they would have to digitally come in and put that correct lighting on the Mandalorian's helmet as an example.
yeah.
And now they're able to do that basically as a huge gaming engine is really what it is.
Right. And this is like the the bridge skill maybe or the bridge thing, right? Where maybe you still have actors in your set. Maybe they are um maybe they are stand-ins for an avatar that's gonna be placed over your actor even,
Mhm.
right? But you still have the ability to have, real like a film experience, but you're not doing any of the external setup, finding the location, trying to time it so the light is correct and there's no clouds, or when the cloud passes, it passes at the right section. You want the cloud to pass at this time, right? Now you can connect those two things. The shadow does what it's supposed to do because it's connected to the lighting, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's if anybody's watched it, it's a really funny show. The studio, Seth Rogen, Seth Rogen, is that right? On Apple TV, I highly recommend it. It's like maybe the first episode. It gets unhinged. It's funny, but it's all about the inner workings of a studio trying to make movies and how nuts that whole world is and whatever. But there's a whole episode where Seth's character keep screwing up a shot and they're losing light and it's getting more. And if if they have to go to the next day to get this shot, it's a single track shot through the house, right? So it has to be uncut, blah, blah, blah. But they're going to like the cost overrun of having to move that one more day would be astronomical. And of course, we know that movies do this all the time. So while we're seeing this huge backlash and pushback on AI and stuff, I think let's be real. This is going to be used more and more and more. To your point, Beth, it's going to be less tennis balls and green screen. It's going to be more real people there that are just replaced using tools like the volume, but also a lot of AI as well. Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to Thomas on here just to wrap this part up. Thomas McDonald said, "Yep, you got it. The volume was for Mando and a lot of Marvel and/or famously physical." Okay, thank you for that because
Thomas-
I thought that's what Jimmy said, but I wasn't sure.
Thomas is also joining us for the first time. And if you would also like to join for the first time, you can live for the first time. You will have Thomas's experiences, which is that we talk at a normal pace, even if you are listening to us 2 times when you're listening after the fact.
And this is sort of our unhinged every other Friday show too, Thomas. Just so you know, and all other Thomases out there, usually we have a little bit more of a topic that we focus on, but we need a reset on this show where we go. Never mind all that. Here's a squirrel that I just saw yesterday, and like I need to talk about this or whatever. By the way, I queued up. Do we even care at this point about the NBA commercial? I queued it up, but like, do we want to see it really quick?
It's really fun if anybody, yeah.
Is it this top one?
Yeah, it's that one. Yeah.
Indiana gonna win, baby.
We're in Florida asking people what they put their money on. I'm all in on OKC.
Indiana got that dog in them.
Will egg prices go up this month?
I think we'll hit $20. How many hurricanes do you think we'll have this year? Kalshi lets you legally trade on anything, anywhere in the U.S. Okay, see?
All right.
Okay. That's actually, I hadn't seen that before. So that's actually kind of cool to see that. There's another video friend, and we won't have time for this show, but anybody wants to see it from PJ Ace, who's the same company. Right below that one is another one that says how we made the viral NBA Finals AI ad in 2 days behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Now, just scrubbing through it, I think it's also AI and in jest because it's got more AI. And I think they just made another video of AI describing how they made it. Because you know what? Hold on. I'm just going to pull it up really quick. What's that?
Yes, right?
But it is
Reset the explosions. We've already lost 3 stop-doubles this morning. Let's not make it a 4.
Don't be cool with it.
Most sets have medics, but we have coroners and priests on standby. It's just something nice Kalshi does.
Authenticity is important to us at Kalshi. We work specifically with FEMA to find actors with PTSD from previous hurricanes.
I'm in charge of the catering for the commercial. All our meat is organic and fresh.
People can't afford our eggs. Stop getting bird flu.
It's a little hard to
Anyway, I think that's worth probably watching as well because I love that they made an AI ad. They made an AI video.
I thought, and see, the thing is, like, if you look at all the comments in the actual commercial, I got a lot of like creative people just hammering it. But I was like, you're missing the point of this whole thing, right? It's like, it's a creative agency that actually did this. I thought that was pretty fun. And then they did it behind the scenes, which is hilarious. It was like random people, like there's so much creativity in the world that you can't just gatekeep that. It's like, oh, I've heard people say, you have to go through the schools, you have to learn. It's like,
And I'm not saying maybe you don't. I don't know. I'm not. But back to the gatekeeping part. Like that's what hits me is I previously did not have the ability. Some people might call what I create slop. That's fine. But I didn't have the ability, just like I didn't used to have Adobe Photoshop at my fingertips. I used to be a multi-$1,000 type tool that only agencies could afford because of the licensing fees.
Sure.
And then one day SaaS happens and Salesforce, and then all of a sudden I can, with high-speed internet, I can get like this crazy editing tool and then everything in Adobe Cloud. Oh my God, 10 years ago, all of a sudden it takes little O'Brien and goes, with a couple of YouTube videos, I can be dangerous, and then now we're seeing the next evolution out with AI. And yes, there's always going to be pushback from the purists who say, but that's not what this is, or your stuff is crap, or it doesn't hold up, or the lighting is wrong, or whatever. And what I go back to, I go, yeah, but the audience will decide.
Okay, so the responses that I have is like, remember, Socrates said we will rot our brains or whatever, like I'm paraphrasing, because books were invented. So we will lose our memory. I'm like, we probably did. But you know what? And then the people who did books, the printing press, then the internet, and I'm like, it just keeps going, right? Like I was like, okay.
Right. So, and I just want to say we're just about ready to end the show, but um,
I feel like this could
mid
be an hour and a half easy.
and Ben, we probably will because I'm sure Jumi has thoughts. I don't mean an hour and a half today.
Yeah, no,
I mean another time. But Midjourney has also come out with their video model, and one of the
Good.
things that is so important to this conversation, particularly, is that Midjourney took a very artistic worldview approach. So, so you can do things in Midjourney's video model that you can't do with the other video models because Midjourney understands how you built the image or wants to understand. So there was a video and I'm sorry I didn't have it teed up because I didn't think we were gonna talk about this today, but, there's a video of glitch art, right? So it's a woman's face and it's glitch art, and the video of it glitches and moves it, like, within consistency for the image that it was, which is a woman's face with, like, different colors and the glitch art aesthetic, and I just think that that is really, really fun. It is not and they were clear when they were building it. They don't want to do a model that other people are doing. If you want that, go use the other models, right? Like, take your Midjourney image and go and do that. But they've really leaned into a world building aesthetic so that they can then, um, animate that aesthetic within that world, all within Midjourney. Yeah, Gareth
By
made a
the way,
great intro.
oh, sorry, Beth.
No, go ahead, by the way.
By the way, breaking news, not breaking news. Kling just came out with you can create videos with sound effects in it. So
Nice.
it's
Cool.
fun. I don't know if it's talking, but if you
Yep.
want to try something, yeah, we did something new.
I would say the best videos that I see these days always have like
Mm.
image made with this, something made with this, then there's a little bit of right? Everybody's got a little something they do better than somebody else. Nobody's got it all in a single package.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're ready to wrap up. Thank you very much. We are doing a vibe coding episode in 2.5 hours. Is that true, Carl?
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half, 1.5 hours. Excellent. I started by saying it was episode 455, so don't trust me on math today. And time math is always challenging. There is no Sci-Fi AI show today, but we will be doing something when Jumi comes back. And check out our conundrum that's going to drop tomorrow. It's going to be a great episode. Those always come out on Saturdays. And yeah, all right. Yes, Gareth.
Gareth is asking one more time. So just to be clear, the
9:30
vibe
Pacific.
coding today will be at 12:30 Eastern.
Yes.
Slow down.
It's pretty exciting. I know it's going to be a little bit shorter, but we actually are going to be vibe coding because we got from the last episode, for those who didn't join us, we got the actual site quote unquote lovable built from our PRD. We got the site built. Now we're just gonna do some fun stuff with it, and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.
And take us out. Yep.